Well, you just heard Weather Underground leader Bill Ayers deny and deflect when I pressed him on violent bombings blamed on the Weather Underground. In the 24 hours since we ran part one of our report, we have heard from local police and federal investigators who dealt with this group, including one of the first responders to a bombing that took the life of a police officer, thanking us for shining a light on this part of his story. Joining us now with more, former NYPD terror unit investigator Warren Sonny and former special agents for the FBI, Richard Giannotti and William Reagan. Gentlemen, thank you all for being here. Willie, let me start with you as somebody who infiltrated this group and ask you for your reaction to what you heard last night and tonight from William Ayers.
Well, thank you, first of all, Megan, for having me. I just heard him say, if you don't mind me put some glasses on, that he didn't know who made the statement that you read. You read a part of a statement called the New Dawn Statement. Now that was put out in December of 6th of 1970. And it was a statement made by Bernadine Dorn.
And this is just to bring the viewers up to speed. This is the communique. Stand by, Willie, just for the viewers who didn't see this. Hold on, because this is the Weather Underground issuing a communique taking credit for bombing a judge's home in which a 9-year-old boy was sleeping, something Bill Ayers admitted. In a book he edited, he admits, the Weather Underground admits that they did it. But on set with me, it wasn't me, I'm not, no, we didn't, no, by the way, no one got hurt. Take it away, Willie.
Yeah, well, I guess he's just being slippery. I have no idea what the professor's mindset is. But let me also read, by the way, one of their heroes was a fellow named David Gilbert. He's doing life for his participation in the NIROB, which two bank guards and a police officer were killed. February 1970, in this book that David kind of puts his primatur to, he says, in late February, a weather cell in New York City firebombs the house of Judge Murtaugh, who is presiding over the Panther 21. You know, what they say is that every terrorist says he's somebody's freedom fighter. The professor has his own ideas, but I just don't accept them. I don't know how much you want me to go into.
No, I want to get your colleagues in as well, because Richard, you also infiltrated a Weather Underground cell. Do you believe Bill Ayers when he says it was all about property damage? They never got violent. The one time they almost got violent, the bomb went off on the bomb makers, and that was that.
No, they were a highly organized, very dedicated, violent group of revolutionaries that started out with some of the property damage, but as they progressed, they were getting more and more violent, using weapons, explosives, targeting people. And as Willie and I worked the case that came down, they were ready to kill a federal judge, and then they were ready to bomb a state senator in Southern California. So they were very, very violent, and I don't agree with what Mr. Ayers was saying.
Were they planning more bombs, to your knowledge, more violent bombs? Because he basically says that once the bomb went off on the bomb makers, who were part of the Weather Underground, they saw the light on violence. They never tried to actually hurt anybody prior to that or after that. That's
not true. That's not true. And when we infiltrated one of the cells that had 5 or 6 of the weather people in it, they talked specifically about killing a federal judge, hearing the AIM trials, I believe in South Dakota or maybe Minneapolis, and then they diverted their attention to bombing a state senator's office in Southern California.
You know, Warren, I tried to press him on whether his own violent rhetoric, because if you read the other writings of Weather Underground people, they talk about Ayers and his rhetoric in particular, which was very violent. And he told me, well, our rhetoric outstripped our actual actions. He refused to acknowledge that that rhetoric may have inspired things like that Brinks murder and other murderous and more violent behavior that Ayers didn't commit himself, but his people did.
Megan, not only was that the case, but the Weather Underground was an offshoot, a much more violent offshoot of the Students for a Democratic Society. Bill Ayers was the founder of that unit. His proposition was the violent overthrow of the United States of America. For whatever reasons, right or wrong, he believed, that was his mission. They conspired with militant groups such as the Black Panthers and the Black Liberation Army, whose sole purpose in life was to kill people, rob banks, do horrendous acts of terror. He was supported of all of them. His own group, which blew themselves up in Greenwich Village, I remember like it was yesterday, used anti-personnel devices. They put shrapnel, nails, into this bomb so they could bring it to Fort Dix, New Jersey, and blow up soldiers.
And just to make clear, inside that townhouse was his best friend and his girlfriend. These were not people who were distant from Bill Ayers. I got to get this in. Willie, why couldn't the case be made against these two?
Well, if you're talking about the which case, the
why are they free?
townhouse
Why are
bombing?
they free? Why didn't the FBI? Why couldn't the prosecutors prosecute them?
Okay, well, there are two cases that they'd taken a good look at. One was the Park Station case in San Francisco. A lot of effort was put into that case. There were a lot of eyewitnesses that described people who bore a resemblance to people who allegedly cased the place.
But bottom line it for us, sir, with respect, because we don't have a lot of time. So bottom line it for us. Why? Why couldn't the prosecutor make a case against Bernadine Dorn and Bill Ayers? We were told it was FBI misconduct.
No, not in the Park Station, not at all. What you're talking about is the Detroit case that Larry Grathwohl is involved in. In the Park Station case, the prosecutor made a decision not to give immunity to one of the key witnesses. They were afraid that she was coming forward to admit to everything under immunity and therefore get her friends off. I know the woman very well. I don't agree to that at all. I truly believe that Bernadine had something to do with it. Ayers,
well, a lot of people have these ideas. And I want to ask you, Richard, before I let you go, because the reports that I read, and I read a lot, said that the FBI had been investigating these folks and had illegally surveilled them in wiretaps that were not usable in a court of law. And that was not necessarily the only piece, but a major piece in prosecutors concluding they couldn't make the case against them.
Well, that goes back to, I believe, even before we got into these cells. The code name of the case that Willie and I were working on was the Weatherfug case, which was the Weatherman fugitive. And what we were trying to do is locate them, get them arrested, and get them off the street before they could continue placing more bombs and hurting more people.
Yeah.
So I think what you're talking about may be predisposed that.
So I got to go, but I'll ask you,
Megan,
Warren,
I can
for your...
respond to that.
I'll ask you, Warren, for
Megan,
your final
can I just
word
add one thing?
on Bill Ayers. Go ahead,
Yeah,
Warren.
my final word is Bill Ayers said he would consider perhaps doing this again today if the situation was correct. He used, and his bomb makers used, state-of-the-art technology back then. He would use that state-of-the-art technology again today. Except today, he'd be taking 11-year-olds and putting bomb vests on them and sending them out to pizzerias or malls. That's the kind of person that you're dealing with here. That's the mentality of this group. The hatred of America is astounding.
I got to leave it at that. Gentlemen, thank you.
Thank you.